It is Mental Health Awareness Week, and here at SGTV we have Lucas from Andy's Man Club joining us in the studio once again, and we're going to be talking about opening up. So this is a tricky one, isn't it? This is probably where it all begins for a lot of people, and probably one of the toughest obstacles people may face.
It's difficult. I think it's something that gets easier the more you do it, really, which might sound really obvious, but I think opening up, it's a difficult thing to do. I mean, I remember the first time I opened up, it was to one of my old bosses at my old company, and I was treated really well, treated with respect, treated with dignity and everything, but when I struggled again after, I felt that I'd failed this manager, and I didn't feel as though I were able to open up as a result again. But then I found when I really did start to open up, which when I first started attending Andy's Man Club, it led to me opening up more to my friends, it led to me opening up more to my family, and then obviously led to me accessing therapy. But I think it's a really difficult thing to do because you've just got this constant fear of judgment, this constant fear of embarrassment, of, you know, being judged to be weak or feeling as though you're burdening somebody. But like I've touched upon before, your closest people to you, they probably know that you're struggling already. They probably know that you're not yourself. So it is a difficult thing to do, is opening up. But it opens the world up to you, I think, as well.
And those stigmas, we spoke every single episode about this, of trying to break them down. Like you said, you felt ashamed or felt like you'd let your boss down, or you weren't. It's nonsense at the end of the day, isn't it? Yeah. It might feel that way to you, but that's not the reality.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to emphasise, isn't it? It's not a weakness at all. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's something to be proud of, if anything.
100%.
If you have the strength to actually, it don't matter what kind of big, burly, confident builder, tradesperson figure you are, if you've got the strength to actually open up and say to someone, I'm struggling, no matter what it is, no matter how big or insignificant you might think that is, it's a strength at the end of the day. It's not a weakness. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's not something to joke about.
Yeah, it's difficult to do. It takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of courage, and it should be addressed, in that way. Displaying that vulnerability is a display of strength completely. But yeah, we know how difficult it is to do, and we know that as men, we're conditioned to not open up probably from an early age. You know, you see how the men that you aspire to on TV or on movies or in your family act and how they behave, and one thing they never show is any sort of sign of emotion, really. Especially that older generation of guys who sort of raised us, all those guys on telly. You've got that very traditional idea of who they are, and ultimately, you do need to open up. I think that generation would have benefited greatly from opening up as well. I think that what we can do as a generation as we take things forward is we can encourage more people to open up, and then obviously, what I'd say is, once you feel comfortable enough, share your experience of opening up without even sharing your experience of what you've been through. If you just share the fact that you've opened up to somebody and it's gone well, it could encourage somebody else to do the same, which really, goes some way towards sort of destroying that stigma and breaking those walls down.
Yeah. Would you say there's anything, we've talked about significance, would you say there is any trauma or experience that is more or less significant than the other?
No, it's whatever's personal to you. I think, in your own head, if you think that one thing's affected you more deeply than another, then obviously that's more significant. But like we've touched upon, that sort of comparison that people do very naturally, they try and compare their issues to other people's or themselves to other people. It doesn't help. It is not a game of top trumps, like, whatsoever. Whatever you're going through, whatever's affecting you, whatever's, in your head at that moment is the most significant thing to you completely.
Yeah, something you said in one of the previous episodes actually sort of made me think, where you'd say, well, this person's, they've got it really bad, so, they're suffering worse than I am. So mine's nothing to really. No, you shouldn't even compare in that sense, and that made me think, really.
Doesn't help anybody, does it? Because,
No.
you know, you might be thinking, oh, well, you know, he's going through something worse, but you're not getting any better by thinking
No.
that other person isn't getting any better by thinking that. Like, you know, addressing your own issues is so important, and, you know, it's very, very difficult to do it. It's difficult to admit that things have been going wrong, but it is important that you do.
And who would you do it to? Who would you open up to?
I mean, I'm not going to be a fraud and sit here and say your friends, like, you know, or your family, because I'm not somebody who did that. I only opened up because I was backed into a corner, really, you know, by that first manager, and then by attending an Andy's Man Club session. I attended in a professional capacity on my first day in my job, and, like, I've attended and it's gone so well. You know, that I felt I was able to open up. But what I would say is, if you've got somebody in your life who's very open about their mental health, talk to them. You know, you might go into it thinking, oh, well, they've got their own problems, they won't want to listen to me. But they'll actually gratefully receive anything you say to them, because they'll be thinking, I've got an ally here. This is somebody else who's going through shit who I can talk to, really. You know, and I think it's finding those people, finding those strong allies, you know. I said I wasn't going to say your friends, but now, after I opened up initially at Andy's Man Club, when I opened up to my friends, they're the most useful people to me in my life. So, you know, anybody who's willing to listen, but look for those people who've got that lived experience as well. And
has anyone ever laughed at you, called you names for opening up?
No, but that's probably because I'm bigger than them. But no one's ever had that reaction whatsoever. You know, it's always been support. Don't get me wrong, like, you know, when I've opened up to some people because of the nature of what I've probably been through, there has been that sort of shock and surprise sometimes, you know. But the only reaction that I haven't liked from people is when there's been a little bit too much sympathy from people. But that's something that I've learned to deal with, because I've always gone through my life thinking that what I've been through is normal because it's my normal. But ultimately, what I've been through isn't normal at all. It's what I'm used to, but it's not normal. So I've become a lot more accepting now of people giving me that sympathy and giving me that sort of emotional response, when a lot of the time what I've wanted is solutions. But I've never had a negative reaction, ever.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's really significant to tell people that I think you'll be treated well if you open up.
And that's the case for me. I don't know anyone who has opened up and been shunned or laughed at or mocked for opening up, because, as we say, we want to break these barriers down. These aren't weaknesses, they are strengths. You could use a sports analogy if you wanted to, you know, if you're in a team and something's not good enough, you work on that weakness, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's the same for your mental health.
Yeah.
If you're physically strong, active, know all the stuff you need to about your job, but there's things niggling away at you or things you need to deal with, it's not a weakness, it's a strength to deal with those issues.
Yeah, completely.
But Lucas, I want to thank you again for joining us and talking to our audience about your experiences and your views on these subjects we've been discussing. We've got quite a few in this series, so please check them out. And please check out Andy's Man Club. Go along to one of the sessions. It might save a life, it might change your life.
Yeah, pleasure.
As always, we'll see you in the next one, so make sure you like, subscribe and hit the notification button below.